Officer Ramirez looked down at the shrieking woman zip-tied on the ground, smeared in goat dung and holding a half-eaten cucumber she swore was evidence of illegal produce. She screamed with a shrill voice that I'm telling you, that man is running an unregistered farm cult. There are chickens with names. Behind her, I calmly fed a carrot to my mini-horse who was wearing a straw hat, watching as 3 more officers tried to make sense of what Cheryl Danforth, our HOA president, was babbling about. The whole scene was surreal, but honestly, after 6 months of her harassment, watching her get arrested on my property while covered in manure felt like poetic justice. Let me back up and explain how we got here. My name is Gregory Banner, though everyone calls me Greg. I'm a 50-year-old software consultant who traded my tech startup stock for 10 quiet acres in Maple Hollow Estates, a semi-rural HOA development with delusions of suburbia. After 25 years of Silicon Valley stress, I wanted something simple. I planted squash, kept a few rescue animals, and enjoyed quiet mornings with coffee and goat bleats. The property came with HOA membership, which seemed fine at first. Pay your dues, keep the fence painted, don't let the grass grow too high. Simple enough, right? But my biggest mistake was not kissing the ring of HOA President Cheryl Danforth, a woman whose power complex made Napoleon look chill. To Cheryl, my peaceful hobby farm was an agricultural affront. She introduced herself the day after I moved in, clipboard in hand, measuring tape on her belt like she was some kind of suburban sheriff. She informed me with a condescending tone that Maple Hollow Estates maintained certain standards and that she personally ensured those standards were met. When I showed her my county permits for the animals and explained I was well within zoning laws, her eye twitched. That should have been my first warning. It began with notices. Official-looking letters on HOA letterhead started appearing in my mailbox weekly. The first cited unpermitted fowl activity because apparently my hens were too free-range. The second complained about unauthorized crop growth within visual range because my lettuce was visible from Cheryl's guest bathroom window. The third, and I'm not making this up, was about non-HOA sanctioned goat attire. The straw hat my mini-horse wore apparently violated Section 12.3 of the bylaws regarding animal accessories. Each notice came with a $75 fine and a threat of further action if not remedied within 72 hours. Then came the late-night drive-bys. I'd be sitting on my porch at 10 p.m., and there would be Cheryl in her oversized SUV, camera in hand, whispering threats through her cracked window like we'll see how the county feels about this organic anarchy. She'd take flash photos of my chicken coop, document the height of my tomato plants, and once spent 30 minutes photographing a scarecrow because she was convinced it was an unapproved lawn ornament. My security cameras caught her measuring the distance between my compost bin and the property line at 2 in the morning with a laser measure. The situation escalated when she spotted me teaching my 8-year-old niece how to milk a goat during a family visit. She dialed 911, screaming about a live animal milking operation disguised as a family event. She told the dispatcher with a hysterical voice that children were being exposed to unsanitary agricultural practices and possible animal abuse. 20 minutes later, 2 patrol cars pulled up, lights flashing. The officers looked confused when they found a little girl giggling while petting a very content goat named Buttercup. When the police arrived that day, they expected chaos. Instead, they found permits, veterinary licenses, and a full compliance report from the county agricultural office because I, unlike Cheryl, had done my homework. Officer Chin actually laughed when I showed him the file I'd been keeping on Cheryl's complaints. The folder was 3 inches thick and included her demanding I register my earthworms as livestock. The officers apologized for the disturbance, complimented my vegetable garden, and left with a dozen fresh eggs each. But Cheryl doubled down. She staged what she called a citizen's inspection, hopping the fence at 3 a.m. with a headlamp and clipboard, claiming she had whistleblower immunity. I woke up to the sound of my rooster, Colonel Sanders, losing his mind. My security system alerted me to movement in the yard, and there on my phone screen was Cheryl, creeping through my garden with a ruler, measuring the height of my cornstalks. She tripped over a wheelbarrow, landed face first in a compost pile, and got stuck in the chicken coop until sunrise when her panicked screams finally woke the neighbors. When I found her, she was covered in feathers and chicken droppings, clutching a slightly pecked clipboard, insisting she was conducting official HOA business. I could have pressed charges then, but I decided to document everything instead. Being a software consultant meant I knew the value of data, and boy did I collect data. I had 47 hours of footage showing Cheryl trespassing, threatening animals, and collecting what she called evidence. This included a tomato she bit into then spit out dramatically while shouting unwashed like it was some kind of biological weapon. There was footage of her trying to lasso my goat with a garden hose, attempting to paint over my hand-painted farm fresh egg sign at midnight, and my personal favorite, her getting into a staring contest with my donkey Hector, which she lost spectacularly when he sneezed on her designer handbag. The turning point came when she filed another false police report claiming I was running an illegal petting zoo. This time she said with a self-righteous tone that I was charging admission and operating without a business license. The police were getting tired of her calls. Officer Ramirez told me they'd started drawing straws at the station to see who had to respond to her complaints. When they investigated and found no evidence of any business operation, just me and my neighbor's kids feeding carrots to the animals, they warned Cheryl about filing false reports. She responded by accusing them of being in on what she called the agricultural conspiracy. I submitted everything to the HOA board and the county sheriff. The evidence was overwhelming. Trespassing, harassment, filing false police reports, vandalism, and attempted animal theft because yes, she actually tried to steal one of my chickens claiming it as evidence. But the real bombshell came when my lawyer did a background check. Turns out, Cheryl had lied on her HOA application. She claimed no prior convictions, but she had 3. All for impersonating a code inspector in another state where she'd harassed a family running a lemonade stand. She'd been banned from serving on any HOA board there, which explained why she'd moved to our state. At the emergency board meeting, I played a supercut of Cheryl's greatest hits. The conference room was packed with neighbors who'd all received their own ridiculous citations from her over the years. There was dead silence as they watched her slipping on a wet carrot and shrieking agricultural sabotage at the top of her lungs. Gasps filled the room when they saw her screaming, "You can't silence the HOA," while being escorted off my porch by deputies. And finally, uncomfortable laughter erupted when they watched her attempting to slap a citation sticker on my goat, who promptly headbutted her into the cucumber patch where she landed with a splat that could be heard from the next property over. The board unanimously removed her from her position. But that wasn't the end. The sheriff's department had been building their own case. As soon as the board vote concluded, Officer Ramirez and his partner entered the room. "Cheryl Danforth," he said in an official tone, "you're under arrest for criminal trespassing, filing false police reports, harassment, and vandalism." The room went silent as they read her rights. Cheryl's face went from red to white to purple in the span of 10 seconds. "This is entrapment," she shrieked with a voice that could shatter glass. "That man and his communist vegetables have corrupted all of you." As they placed her in handcuffs, she tried to claim diplomatic immunity as an HOA president, which caused Officer Ramirez to actually stop and look at his partner in disbelief. The room erupted when she demanded her lawyer, then remembered her lawyer had dropped her after she'd tried to pay him in citations against his law firm's parking lot. They led her out still screaming about agricultural terrorism and organic conspiracies while everyone captured it on their phones. The judge wasn't amused by her behavior in court either. She tried to submit my zucchinis as evidence of intentional HOA bylaw circumvention. She accused the judge of being biased because he had a vegetable garden. She actually stood up and declared the courtroom itself was in violation of HOA standards because the flag wasn't the right shade of blue. The final straw was when she tried to citizens arrest the bailiff for allowing me to bring photos of my farm as evidence. The judge's eye twitched exactly like hers used to when he held her in contempt and added another charge to her growing list. In the end, Cheryl was convicted on all counts. The judge sentenced her to 18 months in prison, though she'd likely serve 6 with good behavior, something everyone doubted she was capable of. She was also ordered to pay $20,000 in fines and $15,000 in restitution for the damage she'd caused to my property and the false police reports. When the judge announced the sentence, she let out a wail that echoed through the courthouse and collapsed dramatically into her chair screaming that the vegetables had won.